I came really close to losing this game, as you're going to see if you stay all the way to the end. It looked like I was going to be a goner, and I was playing against Pierre from Canada, and of course it's me, Dr. Chess, playing. And let's get this game on the road here. So he responds with Queen's Pawn up, and I respond. I just match it. And I wanted to do something a little different. I've been doing the Owens defense over and over and over again, but I thought I'd try something different for this game. This is one of the daily games. So if you play those, where you have several days between moves. I don't remember exactly how many days we had between this particular game, but it was a lot of fun to play. So I go ahead and challenge this pawn. He doesn't take it. Either way, we could go. And it's pretty even so far. And I get my knight out. And he recommends the engine recommended I get my queen out to make him do something about this pawn. I didn't do that. Didn't see it, actually. So he moves his bishop back. Not sure why he did that. And the engine is confused as well. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And so I actually, I have a little bit more advantage at this point. So I get my bishop out, and I go to... we still have the engine recommended one of us take that pawn, and we never did, and still recommending the queen go out. But I got my knight out. I'm going for control of the center and more power. So this is almost the London system. I think it'd be the London system if he had his queen or his bishop here. I'm not sure, but anyway, that looks a lot like the London system, and this looks like the French system. To have your pawns here, and I don't know if you have to have this one here or not. But so we have the French against the London. So let's see what happens here. So he gets his knight out on an outpost. I really don't like that because he has visibility to a bunch of different squares in my kingdom. And so I take his knight, and that gives me a problem. I need to do something. I don't want him to take this knight, and then I mess up my pawn structure because I want a castle on that side if I can. And so I get my bishop up to protect my knight and protect my pawn structure, and then he moves his bishop here, which I think that is the London system. He's threatening my bishop. And so I kind of like to take the bishop. I don't like going into the end game where my opponent has the bishop here. I don't mind having the bishop here. Matter of fact, I love having the bishop here, but I like to do something. So the engine recommended I take it. I didn't take it because I didn't want the queen to get out here and start having fun at my expense. So we exchanged pawns. I didn't really mention that. Finally, I took this pawn, and he takes, and then I castle, and he could still go here, and which means I would have this pawn out. So he goes here, and now we have a double threat. He's going to threaten here. He has that. And so I would lose a pawn. I'd come up a point. Right now we're still even. I have a slight advantage, but now it's a problem with what in the world is going to happen here. So I move my queen up. Now my queen is protecting that pawn. If his bishop takes, and then I take, and then retake, he's not going to get my pawn. We're still going to be even, which I think is pretty good for now. And he gets his knight out. We're getting full development. And I move a pawn up. I have this theory, and I don't know if it's really a good theory or not, but if I have some tension over here, and of course I have some tension here, and I have some tension here, I could put my knight up here, which would put some tension here, and maybe give a threat here. I don't know. But anyway, I start advancing pawns on this side anyway because no one's paying attention. So he starts advancing his pawns, which I don't particularly care for because a pawn storm against my well-protected king could be a problem. So I move a knight up. I move a pawn up to b5 and begin to do stuff. And so now he threatens my bishop. So this is something that I'm learning. If you have a bishop on an outpost or a knight on an outpost and it gets threatened, if I move here, it's going to be hard to defend. As a matter of fact, then the bishop could come here and I could take, and I would mess up my pawn structure. I could take this way, either way. I surely didn't want to do that. So I went ahead and I took his bishop, and he takes back, and now I move this pawn up. I'm going to mess up this pawn structure if I can. And instead he moves this queen over here. And I'm not sure why he did that. A battery this way doesn't work. Maybe he was thinking of coming down here, something along that line. Not sure why he did that. But I went ahead and took this pawn. He moved his queen back, and really he didn't do any development during that time. So now what I should have done is I should have moved my queen here, and kept him from castling. Sorry, got it crooked there. So I should have kept him from castling. If I'd done that, he wouldn't have been able to castle, and I could have had a little bit of fun. But I didn't do that. Instead, I moved my rook to threaten the queen, and actually the engine liked that move. Okay, good. All right, fine. And so then he moves his queen out of the way, and that's when I should have done something different. Move my queen up to keep him from castling. Instead, I fork his knight and his queen, which obviously he's going to take with his knight. He doesn't want me to take, because if I took here, of course he could have moved his queen there, and then it wouldn't have been. But anyway, he decided just to go ahead and take. And that gives me a pawn in his territory. It's not protected, but I could move this pawn here. And if he took, I could take, and then I would have some pawns here, but it would leave him availability to have a battery right down the middle of my defensive line. I didn't want that at all. So then he moves his pawn up, and I begin to feel a little tension. I'm not real happy. And so I decided to do pigs on the 7th. So I put my rook here, and the engine is still recommending, hey, keep him from castling. But I didn't do that. I put my rook up, and then he castled, and then I realized, that's a little bit less problem on here, but then he's probably going to want to put some pressure here or here. Not sure exactly what he's going to do. But so I moved my rook back. I was going to move this rook here and move here, and probably, I don't know, do something. I could have put a lot of pressure on here, probably. I don't know. But I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So he moved his pawn up, and then I moved my rook to this point. I thought it would be cool to get here if I could, and my bishop was protecting. However, I forgot about that a few moves later. All right, so he moves his pawn up, and I move my queen up so that I could, take back if he takes. So he takes, and I take, and now I have my queen. I have my queen into the action now. I really like that. My queen can see, a bunch of different things, and I think that's fantastic. And so then he threatens my queen. Well, I just retreat all the way down there. Probably not a good idea. The engine suggested I retreat there, which probably would have been fantastic, but I didn't do that. And so then he moves back, and I move my rook here. And at this point, I could have gotten his queen. Look what would have happened if I had, if the next move, he moves here. Now, look what happened. I could have taken this pawn. He would have taken my rook. I could have taken this pawn, and I would have got his queen. He would have gone here, and I would have gone there. Now then, there's a lot of trades involved. I would only been, look at that, I've been up +2. Well, that's not huge, is it? But still, I would have had his queen, and I see a great psychological advantage. Of course, this is what, 5 points apiece. So that's 10 points, 13, 14, 15, and I have, my 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 points. So I have an advantage, but it's not quite as much of an advantage as I would like. Anyway, I didn't do it. I didn't see it. I forgot that I could do that. Didn't see it at the time. Oh, I didn't mean to go that far. Let's get back where we were. And we were at this point. There we go. This structure had a lot to do. This is one of those raw immune drinks. My 16-year-old son gave that to me, and I think it's fantastic. Anyway, it's a good thing to drink right now. All right, so we went here, and I went there, and this is where we were. And so instead of me taking that pawn and getting his queen, I didn't do that. So I put my rook up here. I still had in mind taking his. I had in mind a complex plan. I was going to put my queen here, pin that pawn against the king, take this defenseless bishop. Of course, he had his queen here. All he would have had to do is put his rook here, and he would have had, he could have protected it with ease. But I had too complex a plan. Instead, he puts his pawn down. I have to respond some way or other. The engine did not like that move. I don't know what they would have liked, but the engine did not like that move. But I thought it was a pretty decent move. because it gave me. I see these pawns here as throat scratchy. I see these pawns here as like a force field, a protective field, because my opponent can't travel past that. I think that's pretty cool. So now we have a battery here. Now, so I at first I was kind of frustrated, but if he had taken, well, I needed to move something out of the way. So I moved this bishop out of the way, and that gave him full, look at that. At that point, I have nothing. So he has a lot of ability to do stuff. But what I reasoned is if he took this pawn, let's just do it. If he takes, and I take, and he takes, and I take, well, I'm up a rook. So I don't know what the engine saw in this thing. F6 would have been best. F6. Oh. So had I done that, let's go back. So if I'd done F6, he would have done that. I would have done that. He would have done that. I'm not sure why that was a good set of moves. I wasn't watching the best moves. At any rate, it's probably something deeper in the engine that I just didn't see. So now I move that pawn up, and he gets a battery here. I move this bishop out of the way. I kind of didn't mind going here and threatening this rook here, but it would have been a simple matter for him to go here and protect the pawn. Of course, this queen is protecting the pawn anyway. But that was kind of a plan I had. So the queen goes here, and I begin to panic. One move away from checkmate. One move. So it's like, oh no. So I move out of the way, and I hope I can run away. I'm not sure. He goes here, and I think, crud, I'm a goner. So I move here to E1, and realizing he can go down here, and he can take this pawn. These pawns, he can do all kinds of stuff. And then he could advance this pawn, get another queen. I wasn't real happy. And the engine is favoring him as well. So he goes and so that's a mistake. Rook to from A to C1. Rook from A to... Oh, right. If this rook had gone here, he could have done a lot of stuff down that way. Would have been something he could do that way, but he didn't do it. Instead, he moves there. So I bring my bishop back to protect myself at this point, and I'm panicking. I didn't have this bar, but I just imagined, crud, I'm a goner. It's a worthless game. I'm not going to get anything. It's going to be terrible. It didn't work out that way. He put his bishop down, and it would have been a really bad thing because he could have taken that, and nothing I could do about it. I would have had to move out of the way, which would have been, here, running away. And then I don't know what he could have done at that point, but it wasn't a happy thought for me. But since he got this bishop out of the way, it enabled me to put him in check. And I hadn't even seen that possibility until all of a sudden this happened. So he had to move out of check. I moved my queen up to putting in check further. And he has two moves he can do. He decides to go down. And then I move my rook up. And you'll notice he only has one move left. And so when he makes that move, I move my rook here, and it is checkmate.